Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are...
What?
good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And boy, do we have a lot to cover today. Also, we'll have special guest Michael Volino. He is running for Steuben County Legislator. We'll talk all about that campaign. He's also running for Thurston Town Supervisor to be reelected there. His legislative district is District 9, Cameron, Canisteo, and Thurston. That'll be right around 7:20 this morning. But let's kick off the program with the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program, where we read viewer comments that came in after yesterday's broadcast or early this morning. Steuben Senior Services Fund, empowering seniors to age at home. All right, here we go. First up, Rick writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Rick. Well, it's Vote No Day. Get out there, everybody, and get your school budget vote in. Yes, today is the budget vote. Do not forget. I know there isn't quite as much buzz around this one. This needs to pass by 50% plus one. With Corning Incorporated's investment of $1.8 million, some people don't seem to be as active. So I'm asking the question, will you be out to vote today? And what is your thoughts on the school budget? But I'll continue with what Rick had to say. The school district slashed $2 million from the first proposal. Then Corning Inc. comes in with a $1.8 million grant. So the district only cut this proposal by $200,000, not $2 million. It's an automatic no. Rick then changes topics. Trump leaves the G7 early, citing tensions in the Middle East. Yes, we're going to talk about a lot of the tensions in the Middle East. What we're learning, he did leave the G7 summit early, telling people to get out, essentially. Rick says, I hope he doesn't decide to get involved in this Israel-Iran mess with the bunker-busting 30,000-pound bombs. Not our fight. They like to fight over there. Let them fight. After all, Trump is the one that tore up the nuclear development agreement. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I don't have a cough button. The limited nuclear development by Iran. So no agreement in place. Iran goes full out on their enrichment and ballistic missile programs. Donald, what did you think Iran would do? He should have stayed at the G7 summit and done something for the people of the United States. Even Tucker Carlson thinks getting more involved in the Middle East is a bad idea. America first, Donald. When are you going to get around to that one very big campaign promise? Have a good day, Rick. Thank you, Rick. I hope you have a good day as well. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. So Hochul will share information regarding illegal criminals with the liberal Canadian government, but not with our own federal government. This tells me two things. One is that she knows that illegals are criminals and should be monitored, and that she is, in spite of my assumption regarding said knowledge of her supposed beliefs regarding the illegals, willing to fight our own government out of spite and due to her ego. Has complete disregard for the safety of not only New Yorkers, but also those who live in the rest of the country, even though her lip service indicates otherwise, i.e. that she is all about protecting law-abiding citizens. Well, she's very good at presenting a message that is not factually accurate at the end of the day, but we'll continue. From this, I can only conclude that she is as haphazardly rudderless as the rest of her party. Thank you very much. A different comment. It had occurred to me as I was watching a commercial for MASH that Loretta Swit passed a while ago. Yeah, probably, about a week, 2 weeks ago? When I was younger, I never thought she was that pretty. But at my age now, I know I was mistaken. May she rest in peace with our Lord. It was tough. I had 2 or 3 times where I was supposed to interview her, and they just always fell through. Had hoped to get a chance to interview her. A pretty neat story, and with her time on MASH. But yes, she passed away a couple weeks ago. That's sad news. I don't know if we ever had a chance. I almost want to say it happened on the weekend. We never got a chance to mention it on the program, but I know we have a lot of MASH fans and a lot of the classic TV fans here on the program. Did you hear, speaking of that Gunsmoke is making like a unprecedented comeback? Not new episodes. Younger people are just watching old reruns of Gunsmoke. It was some chart where they keep track of these things where people can watch rerun shows that they think because of programs like Yellowstone and kind of this pushback towards westerns, that it's doing really well. I was kind of shocked. I heard that on the news the other day, and I know we have some Gunsmoke fans out there. Okay, comment from Mark. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. Move over T-Mobile. Make room for Trump Mobile. It's out and created by the Trump family. I saw that. So what it does is it's quite fancy looking, but it offers a no contract plan that includes unlimited wireless calling, text, and data, as well as 24/7 roadside assistance, telehealth options, and U.S.-based customer service. For just $47, I sound like I'm doing an ad, but this is just what the news article said. For $47.45 a month, referencing Trump's status as the 47th and 45th president, the company will also sell the T1 phone, a gold, quote-unquote gold, Android smartphone for $499, which they say will be designed and produced in the U.S. by third-party partners. Trump Mobile will connect customers to 5G services from AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile, replicating the business model of Mint Mobile and Smartless Mobile. These companies resell access network capacity of major carriers while doing their own plan marketing and consumer service. There you go. That was a pretty big story this morning. I forgot to keep the website up to show you a picture of it. But maybe if I get a chance, I will. It's kind of difficult to do it live on the air. I see some more comments coming in. We'll get to those in the next break. Before we go to the really breaking news this morning, and remember, yesterday we had a ton of comments. I hope that sticks with us because we had fun yesterday. But we have a couple updates, a couple quick stories before we get into the really serious news when we talk about Iran and Israel. Also talking about that assassin that we mentioned, alleged assassin that we mentioned on yesterday's program. But first up, major update. The world's greatest eater, Joey Chestnut, has agreed to return to Nathan's July 4th hot dog eating contest. Your July 4th is back, folks. The celebration is back. I know last year when I brought this up, all the comments I received is how gross the contest is. So I don't think this is the most hot topic I could bring up. In full disclosure, I interviewed Joey Chestnut a couple times on my radio program. Really, really nice guy. The competitive eating superstar will take part in this year's hot dog eating competition on Coney Island on July 4th after missing out on the event last year over a dispute related to a sponsorship deal that Chestnut had with another hot dog brand. It was like a meatless hot dog, if I'm not mistaken. So Major League Eating, yes, that is an actual thing. Major League Eating and Joey Chestnut made the announcement yesterday, a little less than a week after it was confirmed the two sides had been in heavy negotiations. Chestnut said in a statement, "I'm thrilled to be returning to the Nathan's famous 4th of July hot dog eating contest. This event means the world to me. It's a cherished tradition, a celebration of American culture, and a huge part of my life." I've got to say, sometimes when I get bored, I'll go on YouTube and watch the old introductions where that announcer just goes so over the top and gets everybody pumped up for the hot dog eating contest. Chestnut continued, "While I have and continue to partner with a variety of companies, including some in the plant-based space, those relationships were never a conflict with my love for hot dogs. To be clear, Nathan's is the only hot dog company I've ever worked with. I respect that there were differences in interpretation, but I'm grateful we've been able to find common ground. I'm excited to be back on the Coney Island stage, doing what I love to do, doing what I live to do, and celebrating the 4th of July with hot dogs in my hands." Now, last year's winner, Patrick Bertolotti, hit the 58 dogs and buns number and became the first person since 2015 not named Chestnut to win the competition. Chestnut has won the competition a record 16 times. Considered the world's greatest eater, Joey Chestnut making a comeback on July 4th. Your thoughts on that? Okay, here's a weird one. This isn't what you would call an update, but I don't quite understand this. How do you say, is it the Louvre? The Louvre Museum? They delayed its opening yesterday because staff cited an emergency meeting of senior officials. It was kind of a striking staff, if you will, because of, they say, quote, crumbling under the weight of mass tourism. But isn't that what I don't understand about this? You're protesting mass tourism at an art museum at the Louvre. Isn't that how you're getting paid? That would be like me complaining that I'm getting too many comments and too many viewers. We're just getting too many people coming to our museum and paying us too much money. So we have to strike? I don't quite understand it. And I was trying to do, maybe you can inform me. Because that to me is, well, thousands of visitors, tickets in hand, were corralled into unmoving lines, wanting to see, I think that's where the Mona Lisa is, right? The Louvre has become a symbol of tourism, pushed to its limits as hotspots from Venice and elsewhere try to curb crowds. The world's most iconic museum, visited by millions, is hitting a breaking point of its own. But again, that's how you make your money. I guess I'm just confused by that. I just have too many people watching, frankly speaking. I have too many people writing in comments and sending in waves. Wouldn't you say, well, that's weird, Frank? That's how you make money? Well, yes. That's not what the Louvre thinks. I guess they want while other museums struggle, I'm sure they're saying, we'll take your tourism. Just strange. Hey, I bet you were wondering what Bob Menendez, how he spent his last day before reporting to federal prison. Well, you're in luck. Disgraced former Senator Bob Menendez spent some of his final hours as a free man running errands with a fellow convicted felon, his wife, Nadine. The couple were spotted walking side by side into an Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey credit union hours before the ex-senator is expected to report to a Pennsylvania federal prison to begin serving his 11-year sentence for bribery and corruption. So there you are. Now it's a medium security facility where he'll be. I guess running errands right before he heads to federal prison. And one last update. Terry Moran, fired from ABC, says he wasn't drunk before he sent those late night tweets about Stephen Miller. I wrote it and I said it. That's true, he said in an interview. And I don't need to read the whole tweet. We brought that up to you on the program. Some speculated that Moran's scathing social media screed in the wee hours may have been alcohol-induced. Moran shot down that line of thinking, telling the Times that it came up after a normal family night. He composed the since-deleted post after an evening walk, a family dinner, and watching Ocean's 11 with his kids. I typed it out, and I looked at it, and I thought, that's true. Moran was contacted by ABC News brass, told to take down his post, and was suspended. I was rocked clearly and full of fear, and I realized that this was going to be a very serious situation and had to stand up and deal with it. Now, he claimed the network had reached an oral agreement to extend his contract for another 3 years, only to abruptly reverse course. We had a deal. They're bailing, he said. Now, again, it goes to show you the ego and the narcissism, really, of those in the media thinking it's all about them. Number one, what would that tweet have accomplished? Maybe you thought you were saying something brilliant going after Stephen Miller, but it accomplished, the only thing it accomplished is to lose more credibility for ABC, to show so clearly what Trump has been talking about since the beginning, which is the bias in the media. And of course, conservatives have been talking about it way before that even. But the clear bias in the media, the ABC correspondent, then ABC correspondent, decided that he had to go on an attack on someone in the Trump administration. So again, nothing really accomplished, very much like we talked about Cory Booker's speech. A lot of talk, nothing accomplished, but they can pat themselves on the back and say how wonderful they are. That's what he thought he was going to be able to do. Instead, there was a backlash because people are saying we can't just keep showing our bias in the media. We have to hide it like the old days. The bias is still there. We just have to do a better job of hiding it. But his ego told him no. His words had to be heard by the nation. So there's your quick updates. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Iran. We're going to be talking about the alleged Minnesota assassin. We also have quite a few New York State updates that I think you're going to find interesting, piggybacking off of yesterday's press conference with Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. Also, today is the school budget vote. What is your thoughts? Where is your mind at? Are you going to vote? And if so, what direction were you thinking? All that and much more. Stay with us. Just getting warmed up on this edition of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Frankly Speaking, Roof Cam is brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs.
What better start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Hey, this is John's Tree Service. Spring is here and summer is coming. Do you have a tree in your backyard that just doesn't look nice? Kind of makes your property look a little rough? John's Tree Service, licensed, insured, locally owned, and rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Do you have a monster tree in your backyard? Is there no access to it? Can it not be climbed? Is it too dead? We can put our crane and reach over your house and pull that tree down, do it in a safe manner. Coming to a neighborhood near you to service all your tree needs. Call today at 607-377-6513.
First you hear it, then you feel it. That's the crunchy, melt-in-your-mouth feeling of Ritz Toasted Chips.
When I'm in Elmira and Corning, I watch Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio on Market Street Corning. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, Michael Valino. He is running for Steuben County Legislature in the 9th District, Cameron, Canisteo, Thurston, and also for re-election to the Thurston Town Supervisor position. So he'll be coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. All right, let's go to the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program where we read viewer comments. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Steve writes in, some people should know their facts before speaking. The Iranian deal, it was a deal that there was zero oversight. Iran wouldn't allow any inspections. Trump bankrupted Iran because of sanctions and told any country that bought oil from them we wouldn't trade with them. Then Biden gets in, removes all sanctions, allows them to sell their oil. They get over $60 billion to fund global terrorism and the extinction of Israel in America. Israel destroys all of the defense Iran had in place. Israel has destroyed over a third of the ballistic missile launchers. Now Iran wants to talk a deal again. Guess Trump had it right, all right to begin with. Thank you very much, Steve. Appreciate that. Trump warned everyone yesterday that they should immediately evacuate Tehran as he left the G7 summit early over the Iran-Israel conflict. He said Iran should have signed the deal I told them to sign. What a shame and a waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. About an hour later, Press Secretary Karen Leavitt tweeted that the president would be departing the G7 in Canada early because of what's going on in the Middle East. I have to be back early for obvious reasons, Trump told reporters. We had just a really great relationship with everybody, and it's really nice. I wish I could stay for tomorrow, but they understand this is big stuff. The commander-in-chief asked the National Security Council to be ready in the Situation Room upon his return to Washington, D.C., according to NBC News. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will be returning with Trump to D.C., citing a State Department spokesperson. The president's evacuation warning came after Israel officials called for those in Tehran to evacuate early Monday ahead of its continued military campaign against Iran, which has included slews of missiles exchanged between the conflicting country. The evacuation area includes an estimated 330,000 people in central Tehran, including Iran's state television headquarters, police headquarters, and 3 key hospitals, including one owned by the country's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard. Iranian authorities dismissed Israel's call for evacuation as nothing more than psychological warfare. So everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. Now, I have some opinion pieces on this coming from all different sides. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. But yesterday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, speaking to Iran International, said the hour of liberation for the Iranian people is near, stating that Israel's military operations against Iran, aimed at neutralizing its nuclear and missile threats, will leave the current theocratic regime, and I quote, shattered. He emphasized that Israel's twofold mission is to eliminate Iran's nuclear and ballistic missiles threat, both of which he described as existential. The consequences should be that the regime is shattered, because really, what do they have? What do they truly have? All of this is based on their image of invulnerability, of unmatched power, and we are cutting that power down to size. Then he addressed the Iranian people directly, saying, a light has been lit. Carry it to freedom. Carry it to freedom. It's up to the people of Iran. The hour of liberation is near. He also talked about the atomic bombs that Iran was working on. He said they were going to build 20,000 of these, meaning the Mach 6 ballistic missiles aimed at Israel. We had to act in the nick of time, and we did. The Israeli leader portrayed the campaign as not just a defense of Israel, but as a broader stand against tyranny. Quote, by acting to defend ourselves, we're also acting to defend others in the Middle East and even in Iran itself. Now, in response to reports alleging President Trump vetoed plans to target Iran's supreme leader, Benjamin Netanyahu did not confirm or deny, but stressed Israel's primary objective, to free ourselves from the dual annihilationist threat. If we can help you achieve your freedom, that is a noble and worthy cause. And then he went on to say about the military campaign, it's going brilliantly. Our soldiers, the Mossad, and the IDF are accomplishing unbelievable things with precision targeting. He claimed major blows have been dealt to Iran's nuclear leadership and infrastructure, as well as its missile production capability. Concluding with a historic and emotional appeal, Netanyahu invoked Cyrus the Great, quote, who freed the Jews, as a symbol of past Iranian honor and future hope. Now it's time for you to be free. The people of Iran have a brilliant future, and our friendship can be restored to what it was and what it should be. This is the time. Now, Israel's U.S. ambassador says the beeper operation, remember the famous beeper operation, where all of those Hezbollah members had their beepers explode? Well, Israel's ambassador to the U.S., Yakel Leader, said there would be some surprises amid the Jewish state's conflict with Iran that will make Israel's explosion of pagers and walkie-talkies look simple, he said. We pulled off a number of surprises. When the dust settles, you're going to see some surprises on Thursday night and Friday that will make the beeper operation almost seem simple. Now, there's two trains of thought there. Maybe don't show your hand, or is it just to get inside their heads? So we're going to talk a little bit more about what Trump had to say, a little bit here about the opinion pieces, because I'd love to hear your thoughts. We also have kind of an update from the alleged assassin in Minnesota. I don't want to talk too much about that, though. Mike Lawler, who some are speculating is going to run for governor here in New York, he wrote an op-ed on he wrote an op-ed on Israel, I think, that we're going to get to here in a little bit. There is a poll out, and I want you to take it with a grain of salt. This is normally what happens with the gubernatorial race. There's a poll out that says Mike Lawler is the best chance to beat Governor Hochul, not Elise Stefanik. Now, we had that recent poll that showed Elise Stefanik was already, not even having announced, was already within 1 point of Hochul. So I'm not really sure if I buy all into this poll. I think it could be a little bit behind the scenes campaigning by Lawler and his people. But we'll talk about that and get your opinion on it as well. But right now we have to take a short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Scamming seniors is a huge problem today. Worldwide, seniors lost $4.8 billion to scammers in 2024. The Steuben County Office for the Aging is here to help. Come to our seminar, Recognizing and Avoiding Financial Scams and Identifying Elder Abuse, Monday, June 18th at the Centenary United Methodist Church in Bath from 1:30 to 4 p.m. Learn how to identify scams, how to protect yourself, and fraud watch tips. Come to Centenary United Methodist Church in Bath, New York from 1:30 to 4 p.m. on June 18th. Learn more. Go to steubencountyny.gov/235.
Need it for a grad, for dad, or yourself? This month, GCP has incredible savings on Jim Beam Bourbon and Jim Beam flavors. A 1-liter bottle, normally $19.99, is just $17.99. With $4 mail-in rebate, your final cost is $13.99. 750 milliliter La Marca Prosecco, normally $17.99, is now on sale for $14.99. Perfect for celebrating any occasion. GCP Discount Liquors and Wines and Horseheads, the best in service, selection, and price.
At Simmons Rockwell Nissan, you'll find brand new 2025 Nissan Rogue SV all-wheel drives for only $30,999. Make car buying simple. Drive your deal at Simmons Rockwell Nissan in Horseheads and Hornell.
I have moderate severe plaque psoriasis, but thanks to Skyrizi and clearer skin, I'm all in. With Skyrizi, I saw dramatically clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free.
Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
With Skyrizi, nothing on my skin means everything. Ask your dermatologist about Skyrizi today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam with our picturesque view of historic Market Street in the Gaffer District. Brought to you by Boss Security, our friends at Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. And right now it's time for the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of the program where we go to viewer comments. Mark writes in, I watched a weekly update from Nick Langworthy as he had a video where he asked questions to Governor Kathy Hochul, and he had her tongue-tied, and she looked not too intelligent. He really railed her with questions that she stumbled over many times. Yes, they sent that video to the press. He did a great job. Congressman Langworthy did a great job at that hearing where Hochul testified. At least Stefanik did well. Hochul, again, not ready. She's not good off the cuff like that. She was not ready for those questions and came off many times kind of snarky, came off kind of arrogant, and overall, I think, to Mark's point, tongue-tied. That's a good way of putting it. Quickly on Iran. Iran may get a last chance from Trump to accept a nuclear deal. That is being reported. This is from the New York Post, but still it's based on anonymous sources. The proposal is expected to keep the Trump administration's red line that the Iranian regime engage in no uranium enrichment, but could be slightly better than a previous offer made about a week and a half ago. That's what the Jerusalem Post reported yesterday. The White House did not immediately respond to comment. Now, according to Mike Lawler, again, Mike Lawler riding high. There's a poll out, which we're going to get to when we go to New York State updates, that said that he has the best chance to beat Governor Hochul. I know there'll be many in this audience that disagree, that they think that it's at least Stefanik. They want at least Stefanik to announce as soon as possible. About a week ago would have been nice. Some saying that they would take their inflation reduction rebate from the governor and send it to Elise Stefanik's campaign. So I would like your thoughts, Mike Lawler. Now, the thought behind that is Mike Lawler is more moderate, okay? So Mike Lawler stands a better chance with people that don't like Hochul but couldn't go all in for like a Trump candidate who they view as Elise Stefanik. I just think Elise Stefanik is such a great candidate in this situation. And the polls show that she was right neck and neck with Hochul before even declaring, without even campaigning. So your thoughts on that. Also, your thoughts on the school budget. Today is a school budget vote. Don't forget, set your alarm if you need to. Get out and vote. They're hoping that you will not turn out. But Mike Lawler, who could potentially run for governor here in New York State, writes, last month, I led my first congressional delegation trip as chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee's subcommittee on the Middle East and North Africa. We traveled to Saudi Arabia, Israel, and Jordan, linchpins of regional security. The trip was intended to reinforce the United States' enduring commitment to the region and to explore opportunities for fostering greater cooperation with our partners across a range of issues beyond just security. Only by working together to advance our shared goals can we set the conditions to achieve true peace in the Middle East. With Israel launching preemptive strikes on Iran to decimate their senior military leadership and nuclear program, the Iranian regime is in its weakest position yet. And the power paradigm in the Middle East is undergoing a shift. Now is the time to sit with our partners and advance cooperative dialogue. In Saudi Arabia, we discussed the opportunities that lie ahead with deepening bilateral ties. Saudi Arabia has proven to be a strong partner in the region on many issues of mutual concern. We discussed our recent enhanced security and economic relationship, as well as how the U.S. and the Kingdom can collaborate to achieve shared goals such as de-radicalization. In Israel, we reinforced our close alliance, continuing to ensure that there is no daylight in this relationship. We discussed how Israel can fully utilize and strengthen its existing normalized relations with its allies, as well as how the country can take steps to normalize relations with additional countries in the Arab world in the near future, including to counter Iran's malign activities. In Jordan, we discussed Amman's unique position in the region. We underscored our commitment to providing the kingdom with the tools it needs to succeed in countering the multifaceted threats it continues to face. So I don't want to go through all of this, but it boils down to this. Strengthening these three relationships and investing in each country's long-term stability is key to enhancing U.S. objectives in the region, and something we can all agree on. Iran is the real roadblock to Middle East peace. Isolation of Iran and a future without Iranian funding of terrorism and enhanced nuclear capacity is key. The Iranian regime stands against our values and actively seeks to kill U.S. citizens and destroy our way of life. We cannot let them. However, when we confront the Iranian threat, we must ensure we do so with our partners in the Middle East. No one should go alone, or it will be bad news for everyone except the terrorists. The opportunities ahead are vast, and our vision of a better life, free from constant Iranian threats, is within our grasp. My trip taught me that folks still want to work with the U.S. and the strength of the U.S. dollar more than anything. Once the hostages are all returned home and Hamas is decimated alongside Iranian influence, we can fully start to move forward on the path toward peace and prosperity. Lastly, Iran must understand that there will be grave consequences for any actions they take in response to this justified attack. The United States will not hesitate to defend our ally Israel, our other partners in the region, and our military and diplomatic personnel. I look forward to leading the subcommittee during this volatile yet promising time and reporting back to chart the most beneficial course forward for all. So that was Representative Mike Lawler, potential gubernatorial candidate. Tying in kind of in that area, there is a piece here basically suggesting the reason the United States is entering, and it's from JFeed, the reason the United States could be entering this war, if we do, is because it is the goal of steadily dismantling the Russia presence in the Middle East, as well as that axis that we've talked about, the axis of evil China, Russia, and Iran, that we've had lengthy conversations about on this program. That is why we are getting invested in it. Now, I know there are some, like Rick had mentioned, Tucker Carlson and others, that don't believe this is the right thing to get involved in, but this is a way to diminish that axis, Russia, China, and Iran. Now, Stephen Collinson, before I take a break, from CNN, says Trump is facing heat from all sides, but his fateful Iran decision is one only he can make. President Trump is under opposing pressure from inside Israel and his own MAGA base as he ponders the most fateful national security decision of either of his presidencies, whether to attempt a killer blow against Iran's nuclear program. Now, Israel sending clear messages of what they want. We have some varying political opinions in what they would call MAGA. Personalities like Steve Bannon and Tucker Carlson say that a decision to strike Iran would represent a repudiation of his 10-year-old political movement and American first principles. Tucker saying, quote, "I don't want the U.S. enmeshed in another Middle East war that doesn't serve our interest." Synergy between right and left populist movements in America is also on display. Bernie Sanders said the U.S. must not get dragged into another of Netanyahu's wars. So kind of getting pulled at by all sides. This is a decision that will define Trump's presidency and much more, said Stephen Collison. So your thoughts, what you would like to see Trump do in this scenario? Where your head is at this morning as we learn more about what is happening. They have to think it through, but it's a decision that only Trump can make. A couple other quick things on this. Your thoughts on this, the school budget, Mike Lawler, Lee Stefanik, anything you'd like to talk about and more. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
When you're on, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily, Jardiance, at each day start. As time went on, it was easy to see I'm lowering my A1C.
And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardiance can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine, which can be fatal. Stop Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardiance may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. Genital yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection between and around the anus and genitals can occur. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired and pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardiance. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
Jardiance is really swell, the little pill with a big star.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio during the Student Senior Services Fund section of our program. A viewer writes in, finally, get rid of Iran once and for all. Thank you very much. Oren Cass, the chief economist at American Compass, wrote an op-ed in the New York Post saying Israel is Trump's ideal America First ally, fighting its own battle versus Iran. President Trump's posture on the Israel-Iran war is perplexing analysts accustomed to the United States as a guarantor of peace and fighter of wars worldwide. In their traditional views, allowing Israel to launch an attack implicates the United States and leaves us responsible for ensuring its success at addressing any fallout. Trump's coalition, divided between supporters of Israel's action and opponents of any U.S. entanglements in foreign conflicts, must be facing a serious fissure, they imagine. But the days of the United States presiding over a liberal world order are over. What we are seeing now is the rhetoric and the wisdom of America First become reality in the skies over Tehran. Promoters of the liberal world order believe that the U.S. could and should control events around the world. They were enthusiastic about assuming the burden of security for our allies because with that responsibility came the right to dictate the allies' foreign policy. Other countries, accepting their status as client states in return for the promise of U.S. defense, could be blocked from taking any action that would necessitate U.S. defense. And as client states with no independent capacity of their own, they'd have no ability to act independently and thus no choice but to defer to the U.S. demands. And American First foreign policy scales back simultaneously the right and the responsibility that the United States asserts. Kind of piggybacking off of that, Mark Levin writes, isolationism is the same as appeasement, and it's keeping Trump and Netanyahu from transforming the Middle East. So tired of the isolationists barking about the old and failed foreign policy of the past and insisting that they've uncovered the secret, a new way forward, isolationism. There's nothing new or good about isolationism, which, in a word, is appeasement. It's old and promotes war, such as World War II. Even worse, these knuckleheads can't coherently explain what they mean. They're too self-righteous in their ignorance to realize how absurd they sound. They don't agree among themselves and what the heck they're talking about. In fact, they're so blind and self-important that they don't see the new foreign policy taking place in real time right in front of their eyes. That's the mindset of ideological fanatics. We are witnessing a foreign policy unlike any since Reagan, Thatcher, and John Paul II defeated the Soviet Union. It's nothing like the recent failed policies we've seen in Iraq, Afghanistan, and elsewhere. President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are together demonstrating how to deal with a genocidal terrorist regime, how to use diplomacy and military power, how to use intel and special forces, how to use the media and public statements and more to defeat the biggest terror-supporting regime on the planet. It is and has been brilliant. This again, Mark Levin. And if all goes well, it will result in a transformed Middle East, an expansion of the Abraham Accords, and a world free of a nuclear terror regime. They're achieving what 47 years of prior policies have not. This is a very big deal. This is a real peace plan. Yes, the isolationists, such as Tucker Carlson, are now turning on our president, as they've spent months demeaning Netanyahu. They prefer the likes of Vladimir Putin, who apparently is more MAGA than Trump. He's being sarcastic, of course. They wind up turning themselves into pretzels, actually characterizing the Iranian regime as oppressed and victimized. These retrobates have never been MAGA. They have sought to hijack a movement that they never created, claim to be its leaders and influencers, and redefine it to accommodate their own perverse ideological views, to the extent that they can rationally explain them. They have clung to a movement they do not support, hence their hesitation in supporting our ally Israel, or outright opposition to it, in its righteous war of survival against the Iranian terrorist regime, which benefits the entire West. It is a regime that has killed and maimed Americans, sought to assassinate the American president, threatens Israel with nuclear annihilation, seeks to slaughter millions of Israelis, has spread death and mayhem in Lebanon, Yemen, Gaza, and Iraq, and has aligned itself with communist China, North Korea, and Russia. And to his point, Netanyahu said the other day that the two attempts on Trump's life were both sponsored by Iran. He said that, not offering any proof, but there has been speculation to that in the past. Just to wrap up with what Mark Levin had to say, the isolationists tell us that to oppose this is to be a warmonger and anti-MAGA. Just close your eyes and cover your ears. They also don't seem to care that they attract Marxists, Islamists, and anti-Semites. Some even openly promote and celebrate them. That's not MAGA either. President Trump is a proud American patriot. He despises bigots, and he has done more than any president ever to fight anti-Semitism and anti-Americanism in our country. No, they're not MAGA, but we've seen their likes before. All right, so there's our update. I know we spent quite a bit of time, but I think it's an important issue on Iran and what is unfolding. Now, we can, if you want, talk about the alleged Minnesota assassin. I do have one piece. I don't think we need to go through all kind of the nitty-gritty of this as we learn more. I know that there are Now listen to, okay, the Daily Beast is far left. Don't get me wrong. But most outlets agree that there is no clear political motive as of right now. Now, something could change about that. But even CNN saying that, yes, a lot of people on the list, or maybe all the people on his assassination list, were Democrats, but there's no manifesto that speaks to that. But the Daily Beast puts it this way. Cops probe if captured MAGA assassin is part of a broader network. Again, the far left. Daily Beast. Cops are not ruling out the possibility that the suspected Minnesota assassin is part of a broader network. Well, of course, that's not a news story. Of course, they're going to look into every possibility of what led to this. So a non-story, essentially, but in a way to attack Trump supporters. We do have, where is it? We can talk about that in depth, but I do have one piece on that when we come back, and then we're going to move on because we have so many New York State issues that we have to get to. I see we got a lot of comments coming in. I love it. Keep them coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Trust your smile to Dr. Henches at either Watkins Glen, Elmira, Horseheads, or Elkland Family Dentistry. All 4 locations provide cutting-edge technology to make sure your visit is comfortable and stress-free. Dr. Henches offers treatment in all areas of dentistry, including same-day crowns, implants, root canals, oral surgery, and treatment for all ages. For the best dental care in the region, trust Dr. Henches and his staff at Watkins Glen, Horseheads, Elmira, and Elkland Family Dentistry. Call any one of his offices today or visit them online for more information.
In today's world, securing your business is more important than ever. Protected with Boss Security's state-of-the-art alarm systems. When seconds matter, trust the experts. Boss Security is proud to safeguard local businesses across the Twin Tiers. Contact Boss Security today.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
First you hear it, then you feel it. That's the crunchy, melt-in-your-mouth feeling of Ritz Toasted Chips.
Catch Twin Tiers local news and weather by visiting WYDCTV.com. We've got daily and weekly weather forecast, question of the day, things to do, and more. WYDCTV.com, your website for everything.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. This breaking, just coming out moments ago. President Trump said he is seeking a real end to the escalating conflict between Israel and Iran and demanded a complete give up by Tehran, as he put it. That's after Israeli forces claim that they have killed another Iranian senior military commander. According to a pool report by Politico, Trump said, "I'm not asking for a ceasefire. We're looking at better than a ceasefire." He clarified he wants to see an end, a real end, not a ceasefire, and called for a complete give up on Iran's end. He also strongly denied contacting Iran in an attempt to broker peace talks after French President Emmanuel Macron said he had. "I have not reached out to Iran for peace talks in any way, shape, or form. This is just more highly fabricated fake news. If they want to talk, they know how to reach me. They should have taken the deal that was on the table, would have saved a lot of lives." So saying he wants a complete give up. All right, now we go to viewer comments. This section of our program brought to you by Stu and Senior Services Fund. First up, disappointing to think that Elise might not run. That's Elise Stefanik. Hope she does, but at this time looks like we'll be backing Lawler. Well, let me say, I would say don't give up hope. I mean, she still very much looks like she's going to run for governor. I mean, whether it was at that committee hearing with Governor Hochul and the way Elise Stefanik went after her in that hearing and in that testimony, did a great job. Some of the statements she's been releasing seems very much focused on New York. So I don't think she's out of it in any way, shape, or form. As a matter of fact, I think she is going to run, in my opinion. I think there's a problem that Republicans in New York State have had for a long time, and that is they end up waiting too long to announce. If you look at Lee Zeldin, he declared in April of the year before the election and then just hit the ground campaigning and campaigned as you know what off. We need that. Now, I would have liked to seen that happen already, no matter who the nominee is. But we need someone declaring very, very soon. And I hope it's not one of those Labor Day decisions. I think we want to see our gubernatorial candidate at the state fair, at various county fairs. So hopefully that decision is made soon. But I understand your mindset. Basically, any Republican, anybody but Hochul, right? If I'm reading between the lines there. Mark writes in, I believe if we get involved in the Middle East war going on, it will be detrimental and possibly start World War III. Thank you, Mark. Comment from a different viewer. 2009, the Iranian people asked for Obama's help. He ignored them, allowed them to kidnap sailors, meaning Iran, and gave them the drone they used to build their drone program. Thank you very much. I see some other comments coming in. We'll get to those as we wrap up hour number one. I wanted to mention Vance Bolter, the alleged Minnesota assassin. The New York Post editorial board says his perhaps Vance Bolter's motives will turn out to be right-coded. Perhaps they actually reflect some more personal grievances. No matter what, the prescription for the rest of us, left, right, and center, remains the same either way. Tone down the political rhetoric. Nabbed Sunday after a massive manhunt, the apparent assassin of Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, also fingered for the dire wounding of a state senator and his wife, was plainly struggling with financial and mental health problems after years of inflating his own reputation. Just as now looks like the guy who nearly killed President Donald Trump last year was disturbed, as was the guy who almost killed Representative Gabby Giffords back in 2011, and were a host of other political shooters in years between. But troubled minds and souls take cues from the world around them, and American political rhetoric has grown routinely too heated. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries called for, quote, all elected officials from across the political spectrum to conduct themselves responsibly, just as similar resolutions have been in their day. Maybe this time the lesson will sink in. I'm not going to go through each individual case, but the nation needs most people on both sides of the great divide to face the truth and do better, or it will only get worse, is their argument. Okay, back to New York. Representative Mike Lawler and that poll. When we come back, keep your comments coming in. In the next hour, we are going to be talking with Michael Volino. He is running for Steuben County Legislature in the district that encompasses Cameron, Canisteo, and Thurston. And as well, he is running for re-election as Thurston Town Supervisor. Reading your comments and getting into New York State politics when we come back to wrap up hour number one. Stay with us.
Hard water makes it hard to keep your home looking like the work of art you've always envisioned it would be. Culligan softeners reduce hard water buildup and your cleaning time, transforming every drop, every splash, every rinse into the fine art of a long-lasting clean. With a Culligan water softener, revel in the breathtaking beauty of your home, just the way you've always pictured it. Culligan, water you love.
Every great performance starts with a great night's sleep. Thanks to new Natrol Sleep and Restore, which helps me be this me, this me, this me. I'm kidding. To be my best at all of this, I have to be my best at this. Every great night's sleep starts with Natrol.
New Natrol Sleep and Restore for your ultimate restorative sleep.
If you have one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, the Student Senior Services Fund section of our program, where we read viewer comments. This viewer writes in, the Minnesota murderer is a religious fanatic who is absolutely against abortion. I surmise that this was his motivation to murder abortion supporters. I don't know what we'll learn. I don't think there was anything in the manifesto, if you will. Before we take a deep dive into New York politics, I got this email. This is kind of breaking news. Just got it. And it's by Wallet Hub. We mention them sometimes. It's kind of a polling type scenario where they put together the best and worst run cities in America. Now, in the top 20 best run cities in America, none are in New York. Now, it's not going to be talking about, cities the size of Corning or Hornell or Elmira. It's bigger than that. But I think it was ended up being 148 of the largest U.S. cities. So instead of looking at the best, I hit the kind of rewind button to take a look at the worst. Ranking the worst, 148, San Francisco, California. Then 147, Detroit, Michigan. 146, Oakland, California. And here it is, 145 out of 148, New York. So here's another one. 120, and you notice all these run by Democrats. 124th out of 148, Rochester, New York. Interesting. So there you are. Just saw that as we jump into the New York State issues. Representative, according to a new poll, Mike Lawler would have a better shot than Elise Stefanik in defeating Democrat incumbent Governor Kathy Hochul. That's according to a new bombshell poll. Keep in mind, sometimes these polling behind the scenes, I'm not suggesting that Mike Lawler did this, but sometimes people that support him will release polls like this and some information like this to kind of get the ball rolling. I don't understand why neither Mike Lawler or Elise Stefanik have declared yet. I wish they would. I wish one would. I would like personally to see Elise Stefanik. I know that poll showed her tied with Hochul, even though she hasn't declared yet. But Lawler would fare better among moderates than Stefanik, as both Republicans eye a possible race against Hochul. That's according to Brock McCleary, founder of Harper Polling. Hochul leads Lawler 48 to 41% on the initial ballot, but the race becomes a dead heat when participants were informed of their records. Hochul was still ahead, but by a margin of only 44% to 43.4%. Well, isn't that the biggest problem, getting the word out about their records? Republicans always have an uphill battle because the media will not cover them, especially not respectfully. The incumbent governor, meanwhile, leads Stefanik 50.1% to 38.8% on initial ballots, and then 46% to 42.6% after participants were informed of their record. So this is pushing, and here's the problem I have with this, because this is the same thing we were told at the federal level for decades as Republicans, that the more moderate candidate has the best chance to win. And then we always say, well, that's what you told us about McCain. That's what you told us about Romney. You try to tell us that about Jeb Bush. When does it end? When do we keep losing with moderates? I'm not criticizing Mike Lawler. I'm just saying that's where this polling mindset comes from. That's where this mindset is, that the more moderate has a better chance to win. I'm not sure that is the case. I think if you look at the huge inroads Trump made with Republican voters, with Democrat voters, or just voters in general in New York, I think that's because it was Trump's style. I think if you get a moderate in there, you're not going to have that same impact. You're not going to drive people out to the polls. But keep in mind, this is kind of the back and forth of the polling right now, where they're using it behind the scenes to kind of push a candidate along. According to McCleary, self-identified moderates are a key voting group to win statewide in New York, because by party registration, the moderates in the survey were 51%, Democrats 21%, Republican and Independent 28%. Right? Is that right? That's weird. No, Independent 28%. I'm sorry. They worded that really strange. Democrats 51%, 21% Republican, 28% Independent. There we go. Lawler performs 10 points higher than Stefanik on the gubernatorial ballot among moderates. Okay. Again, take it with a grain of salt. Stefanik has a 20-point higher name identification than Lawler. Okay? Keep that in mind, too. All right. Your thoughts on that? Some more New York State issues when we come back. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 moments away.
Want to know why it's hard to stop a train? It's how we've invented products that reinvented our world. It's how we test as hard as the elements do. It's how we run.
Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning in Corning is now offering residential plumbing services. A local, veteran-owned and operated company with over 25 years experience. You can trust the experts at Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning.
Time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
You're our Pioneers at home this Thursday and Saturday. Thursday, June 19th, it's a Chemung Canal Trust Night. Saturday, June 21st, it's free mini bats courtesy of Blaze Brockway Contracting. And it's Southside High 1972 Championship Night. Your Elmira Pioneers at home this Thursday and Saturday. Get your tickets early. Call 734-2690. Your Elmira Pioneers, a baseball tradition since.
It's hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking, and we're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, today is the school budget vote. I know in our area you've been asked to vote just about 3 times in a month, twice on the budget. And coming up next Tuesday, the primary votes for many of you. So it is important. That's why we're going to keep reminding you throughout the morning. Don't forget to vote. Today, the school budget vote is very important. Coming up, speaking of primaries, in about 20 minutes, we'll be talking with Michael Valino. He's running for Steuben County Legislator in the district encompassing Cameron, Canisteo, and Thurston. He's also running for re-election to be Thurston Town Supervisor. Okay, let's go to the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program where we read viewer comments. Steuben Senior Services, empowering seniors to age at home. Mark writes in, Elise Stefanik is my choice if she runs. I like that, Mark. I like that a lot. Comment from a different viewer. Regime change doesn't necessarily make what does that mean? Wait, did I get cut off here? I think I cut off the text. Ideology change, maybe? Regime change doesn't necessarily mean ideology change. That's the real issue. Okay, I think I got the gist of that. That was my fault, not yours. Appreciate it. Comment, another comment. Stefanik is the one. Mike who? That's meaning Mike Lawler. I think the trend here, at least if I can get it kind of an informal poll that we're taking here on the program, I would say most of you support Elise Stefanik. I'd also say, if I'm reading between the lines, most of you will support anybody but Governor Hochul, but Elise Stefanik is the clear favorite, according to, anecdotally, to the viewers of Frankly Speaking. Also, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the school budget. That informal polling seems to have a lot of you heading towards a no vote, but remember, they need to get just 50% plus 1. Now, last time their budget failed 60% to 40%. Will there be the excitement to get out and vote, or with that donation from Corning Inc., have people kind of lost interest and said, I'll vote next time? I hope that's not the case. I don't believe viewers of Frankly Speaking are that way. They realize the importance of the vote, but I would love to hear your thoughts. I see other comments coming in. I didn't get a chance to read them before we went on the air. We'll read them in the next segment. Speaking of New York State issues, State Attorney General Letitia James is conducting a misconduct probe of a New York local law enforcement agency because they had the audacity to help the Trump administration crack down on illegal immigration. The AG's office asked Oswego County Sheriff Don Hilton for documents outlining any cooperation between local law enforcement officials and federal agencies, including immigration and customs enforcement, customs and border protection, and homeland security. Yes, right in Oswego. A letter from the office asked Oswego County Sheriff Don Hilton to turn over those agreements concerning the enforcement of federal immigration law. It has also asked for documentation about cops receiving training on enforcing federal immigration. The letter cited a section of state law on official misconduct and asked for any training on immigration enforcement and a list of all traffic stops involving the office. So Tish James, continuing her fine tradition of politicizing and weaponizing the judicial system, the lawfare. I'm not going to go through all the specifics of what the letter said. The Office of the Attorney General does not target New York counties for cooperating with the federal government. The Law Enforcement Misconduct Investigation official reviews matters concerning potential violations of New York's civil rights. The spokesperson for her office said, "It is wrong to inaccurately speculate about our office's ongoing work with local law enforcement, especially when coming from extremist politicians with partisan agendas." So Tish James probing local cops right in Oswego for misconduct because they had the audacity for working with the Trump administration and ICE. Maybe, and I wouldn't say it's in retaliation for that. I'm sure it's unrelated. But Trump orders ICE to expand its deportations in large cities, including New York and Chicago. That is being reported, saying on Truth Social, ICE officers are herewith ordered by notice of this truth to do all in their power to achieve the very important goal of delivering the single largest mass deportation program in history. In order to achieve this, we must expand efforts to detain and deport illegal aliens in America's largest cities, such as Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York, where millions upon millions of illegal aliens reside. All right. Also, piggybacking off of that, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said rogue state actors will forfeit their Department of Transportation funding if they do not comply with federal immigration enforcement efforts. The U.S. DOT will not fund rogue state actors who refuse to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement, Duffy wrote, and to cities that stand by while rioters destroy transportation infrastructure. Don't expect a red cent from DOT either. Follow the law or forfeit the funding. So I know we've had a few people write in on this program and comment, who's going to pay for all this destruction? Well, when it comes to transportation infrastructure, it's not going to be the DOT. It's not going to be the Department of Transportation if they allow this rioting to continue. So that was Sean Duffy, that rogue state actors forfeit their funding, their Department of Transportation funding, if they don't cooperate with immigration enforcement and if they allow the rioters to run amok. Now, also, since this is all about, I know it started off as a New York issue, and they all kind of tie in with New York issues, but since we're on ICE, I wanted to mention this as well. Over 200 House and Senate Democrats signed a letter condemning what they called an unprecedented incident. It's in which Senator Alex Padilla was forcibly removed from a Homeland Security press conference last week. He is getting exactly what he wants. He was essentially a no-name senator, someone that was not a household name. And now, as Ken wrote in yesterday, he's on the Sunday shows. He's getting, I'm sure his fundraising is through the roof. He is becoming one of the faces of the resistance. Make no mistake, he wanted exactly this. He wanted the image of him either being handcuffed or the image of him being thrown out. That was his goal. Now, again, I know I had people that disagree with me yesterday. They got very angry at me, using words that I cannot use on the air, suggesting that he should not have, there should have been no concern he was a senator when he rushed towards the podium yelling at a cabinet member. I would ask, and I think it was a New York Post who asked this as well, the Democrats sticking up for Alex Padilla, how would they respond in the same scenario if an unknown person started rushing towards the podium yelling questions? Do you think that they would have just sat there politely and answered the question? Signed by 188 House members of Congress and 35 senators, the letter accuses the Trump administration of a potential violation of separation of powers and said the incident raises alarming questions about the conduct of federal law enforcement agencies, the coordination of protective services, and the administration's posture towards congressional oversight. Again, they know this is disingenuous. They know that you cannot just scream at a cabinet member and yell at them and not expect to have some type of security called on you. As I have said, I have attended a few press conferences with Chuck Schumer. I'm sure that would not be tolerated with Mr. Schumer. Videos of the incident showed Padilla attempting to walk up to Noem while she was speaking at a podium and trying to shout over the secretary. But law enforcement stepped in and forcefully stopped Padilla's advance. He was handcuffed and briefly detained by officers. Padilla was eventually taken out of the room, brought to the ground and handcuffed, which is exactly what he wanted, unfortunately. Fox News reporters who were present at the news conference said Padilla appeared to be detained for a period of time. Padilla has claimed, quote, "I wasn't trying to be disrespectful or disruptive, and I don't think I was. And I was simply asking a question, just as the members of the press corps ask questions, members of the Congress, members of the Senate ask questions to do our job to hold the administration accountable." Now, the letter sent by the Congressional Hispanic Caucus and joined by hundreds more other lawmakers was sent to House Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune. The letter was signed by the likes of AOC, this is an interesting one, Senator John Fetterman, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. I'm not going to read the whole quote. As responding to the letter, a White House spokesperson, Abigail Jackson, wrote, "Padilla lunged towards Secretary Noem's podium in the middle of a press conference, resisted law enforcement, and didn't immediately identify himself. Democrats are so desperate to talk about anything other than their supporters violently rioting in L.A. that they're trying to make a martyr out of a senator who acted like a kindergartner throwing a temper tantrum." Also adding, the letter won't fool anyone. Yes, they're hoping you didn't see the video. They're hoping you didn't know this for exactly what it is, and it's that political theater that even some Democrats are finding not appealing. Now, we have to take a break. When we come back, a couple more New York State issues. I see a ton of comments coming in. Thank you very much. We'll get to those comments when we come back. Coming up in about 10 minutes, we'll be hearing from Michael Valina. He's running for Steuben County Legislature in District 9, which is Cameron, Canisteo, and Thurston. Also running for re-election for Thurston Town Supervisor. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
Attention, Elmaron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmaron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmaron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmaron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Cut! I get it. Slow motion. Slow down geographic atrophy. But we don't need gimmicks. Stick to the facts. GA, the advanced form of dry AMD, can irreversibly damage your vision. But Syfovre is an FDA-approved eye injection that gives you the power to slow GA. Syfovre was proven to slow GA lesion growth over 2 years with increasing effect over time. It's the only treatment to slow GA in as few as 6 doses per year.
Don't take Syfovre if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye that may include pain and redness or are allergic to it. Syfovre can cause severe allergic reactions. Other serious side effects are eye infection and retinal detachments, severe inflammation of vessels in the retina, which may result in severe vision loss, wet AMD, eye inflammation, and an increase in eye pressure. Most common side effects are eye discomfort, wet AMD, small specks floating in vision, and blood in the white of the eye. Tell your doctor right away if you have any side effects.
Act on facts to slow GA. Ask your retina specialist about Syfovre. Nope, just the facts.
The Twins' first prime-time local news. Catch weather, local and national news, events, and more with our anchors, Dante, Haley, and Ann. Find out what's happening in your community and more by watching Big Fox 10 p.m. News on WYDC.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by our friends at Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Market Street in Corning. And let's go to the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program, where we read viewer comments. Steuben Senior Services Fund, empowering seniors to age at home. First up, Obama allowed the Iranian Navy to humiliate our sailors, and in 2011, the sailors were punished by the Obama administration. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Isn't James in jail yet? If not, why not? That's Letitia James. I know that there is the case against her. I don't know. I think there's there's a little bit more before anything comes from that, one way or the other. So be patient, I would say, to find out what exactly happens in that investigation. Comment from a different viewer. Does anyone really think the school district didn't have all this, including Corning Inc., planned ahead of time? And while we are at it, who is the geniuses that write the contracts for administrators that hobbles the school district? Thank you very much. A lot of people making money off those contracts. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, hey, good morning. I'm concerned with the Corning Paint and Post budget. As a senior, remember today is vote days, Corning Paint and Post school budget. As a senior, I feel that we should be at $10 per 1,000 assessed value, not $20. Joe T, I believe that means Joe Tobia, feels that $39 per 1,000 is acceptable, but it is not. My taxes are over $6,000, my goodness. Cut the administrative salaries, not teachers or student programs or security for our precious children. And we all know the optics and why they do that, right? We've talked about it on this program a million times. It's always, well, we're just not going to have security officers in the elementary school. That one I thought was low in the first budget, going that direction. Or we're going to cut after school activities. We're going to cut this. But I know from those who attended, told me that at those public forums, everybody is saying, what about the administrators? What about all this cost with all these people making very, very, very big money? And they'll say, well, we can't get rid of the contracts. Well, how about start offering retirement? How about not replacing these people when someone leaves? I mean, it's the administrative costs that are killing us. I feel your concern to that viewer. I've had a lot of people, specifically seniors, write in and say they can't afford to live in their house anymore because of the school budgets. I mean, look at, I don't want to get into this 100%, but look at this. Look at these numbers. So they asked us the first go around for $146,804,840. So let's just say $147 million. $147 million for Corning Paint and Post School District. How much are they asking for now? $144,234,430. So $144 million. Now this vote does need to get just 50% plus one. Today is the vote. So make sure you get out, and I want to hear your thoughts on it. But I feel for not just seniors in general, I've heard it from a lot of people that they just can't afford to even stay in their house because of taxes like this. And, you know, what's unique about the school budget is, you know, as we complain about costs of living in New York State, this is one avenue, one area where we can actually decide whether we want our taxes to go up or not. That's why I'm always surprised how easily they get passed. Well, and they do good with public relations, saying it's all about the kids, vote yes for the kids, those type of things. But it's not. They're talking about cutting teachers and student programs and things like that. But look at the cost of these administrators. So it's hard to take them at their word on that when we see where the real costs are coming from. But again, you have today a chance to decide whether or not in New York State you want, in this one area, higher taxes. Just something to think about. All right, I see some other comments coming in. We'll get to those in just a little bit. Let's talk about the HEAT Act for just a moment. Yesterday we had that great press conference with Assemblyman Phil Palmisano talking about the HEAT Act. Well, will 2025 be the New York HEAT Act's year? No. The bill, which was renamed the Consumer Savings and Reliability Act. Basically what happened is that they ended up just repealing the 100-foot rule, a key component of both the HEAT Act and its successor, leaving the Assembly to make the call. Ultimately, on Monday, the Assembly decided to move only on the straight repeal of the 100-foot rule, which required the utility companies supply gas to any customer who wants it, with the cost falling on ratepayers if they're within 100 feet of an existing line. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, a staunch opponent of the HEAT Act, as it says here, said afterwards that despite his stiff opposition to the straight repeal, he's thankful that the full Customer Savings and Reliability Act did not pass. HEAT Act 2.0 would have been much worse, but this isn't much better. When you have more natural gas customers on the system, their revenue is added in to help pay for the fixed operation and capital costs that must be paid by the existing customer, saying that the repeal will save ratepayers money, arguing instead that it will cost them by decreasing the total pot of revenue. He also, in a different piece, was quoted, I think this was in Newsweek, he was quoted, again, this is Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, as saying, who's the ranking Republican on the Assembly Energy Committee, said the plan is designed to dismantle the affordable and reliable natural gas infrastructure supply and delivery system. It's designed ultimately to take away consumer choice at how you heat your home, cook your food, power your buildings, and the vehicle you drive. It will jeopardize the reliability of the grid, leading to dangerous blackouts, and will continue our nation-leading out-migration. So thank you to Assemblyman Phil Palmisano for his hard work. We got to take a short break. When we come back, Michael Volino. He is running for Steuben County Legislature in District 9, which encompasses Cameron, Canisteo, and Thurston. He's also running for re-election to Thurston Town Supervisor. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmaron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmaron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmaron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmaron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Slow down.
Cut! I get it. Slow motion. Slow down geographic atrophy. But we don't need gimmicks. Stick to the facts. GA, the advanced form of dry AMD, can irreversibly damage your vision. But Syfovre is an FDA-approved eye injection that gives you the power to slow GA. Syfovre was proven to slow GA lesion growth over 2 years with increasing effect over time. It's the only treatment to slow GA in as few as 6 doses per year.
Don't take Syfovre if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye that may include pain and redness or are allergic to it. Syfovre can cause severe allergic reactions. Other serious side effects are eye infection and retinal detachments, severe inflammation of vessels in the retina, which may result in severe vision loss, wet AMD, eye inflammation, and an increase in eye pressure. Most common side effects are eye discomfort, wet AMD, small specks floating in vision, and blood in the white of the eye. Tell your doctor right away if you have any side effects.
Act on facts to slow GA. Ask your retina specialist about Syfovre.
Nope, just the facts.
The Twins' first prime-time local news. Catch weather, local and national news, events, and more with our anchors, Dante, Haley, and Ann. Find out what's happening in your community and more by watching Big Fox 10 p.m. News on WYDC.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and this is the Steuben County Office for the Aging section of our program. Steuben County Office for the Aging, committed to maximizing quality of life, safety, and independence. Joining us in the Hesselson studio, Michael, it's good to have you back.
Hey, it's good to be back, Frank.
How's the campaign going? It's crunch time.
It's crunch time.
Yeah.
It's going well. The early voting has started over at the county annex building on Moore Street. Early voting from 9 to 5 through Sunday, and then election day next Tuesday, the 24th, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Right.
Voting in Thurston, Cameron, and then in Canisteo at the Summers Hall. I think I want to remind voters, running in Thurston, town supervisor, re-election for town supervisor. There's a primary challenge there, and then also District 9 county legislator for Cameron and Canisteo residents have a primary challenges there as well. Thurston voters, when you go vote, you should fill my name in twice on the ballot. It's right next to each other. But your ballot should have my name on there twice.
Make
sure,
right?
Make sure. If it doesn't, go ask for another ballot.
That's right. So what's your Tuesday going to look like? Because you have two very important elections right on the same night. Kind of a stressful situation. What do you plan for Tuesday?
Tuesday, we've got numbers. We'll be phone banking all day. We're going to make sure everyone's getting out to vote and just double checking.
Tell us a little bit about your background. I know you've been Thurston Town Supervisor. What has that experience been like for you?
As it relates, so I started, in local government first as historian in 2018 in Thurston, then joined the board in 2020. I've been town supervisor since March of 2023. Wow. And it's been a very rewarding experience. I think we as a town board have accomplished a lot of, we'll say, big initiatives the past couple of years, and I'd like to continue on with that as town supervisor, and then also take the experience I've gained as town supervisor and kind of translate that into the county legislature role.
What does it feel like to have your name synonymous with sludge? You worked hard on that. You really did.
Yeah, we worked very hard, and that when I started in March 2023, we kind of had a lot of turmoil, with our town as a result of that.
Mm-hmm.
We had our town supervisor, board member, town attorney, all resign over it. But we felt, so a little context, this was a 40-year practice, spreading sewage sludge in the town of Thurston. Mm-hmm. We became concerned in late 2022 when a large waste management company acquired property in the town of Thurston. They wanted to, expand on this operation, bring in this sewage sludge from, Long Island, primarily the Bay Park wastewater treatment facility, one of the largest in the state. And the problem with spreading municipal sewage sludge on farmland is it's highly contaminated with, a cocktail of chemicals, but PFAS in particular. And we're finding now PFAS chemicals, forever chemicals, don't break down the environment and being linked to cancer. So we really felt it was in
the best interest
of the residents. After a water testing effort in 2023 showed a lot of private wells were contaminated with sewage sludge, or with PFAS chemicals. We felt the need to do something. And we're, the first town, in New York State to successfully regulate, effectively prohibit this.
You were ahead of the curve.
Right, we're ahead. And actually, last week
you started the conversation, which I think is so important.
We started the conversation. The town of Cameron passed an identical piece of legislation last week at their meeting. And you might have heard that, this past week, the New York State Senate has passed a 5-year moratorium on sewage sludge spreading statewide. Our local representative, Tom O'Mara, voted in favor of it. It was a bipartisan piece of legislation. Mm-hmm. It looks like the Assembly is going to follow suit by June 30th. The big question is, what is the governor going to do?
That's always the question.
So anyway,
she hasn't really signaled one way or the other, though.
So a reporter from Spectrum asked her last week what her stance was on it, and she said, "Well, I need to be brought up to speed on it."
Okay. Yes.
I've been offering to bring her up to speed for 2 years, but she doesn't return my calls. So
you don't have her cell phone, huh?
No, I don't. Unfortunately, no.
But you mentioned that you believe, and I think you're right, that your time as Thurston Town Supervisor will translate well to legislature. But that's not an easy decision to make. So when did you sit down and say, I think I've got what it takes to be legislator?
I think probably in the fall of last year, actually, the Cameron Town Supervisor, Bob Manley, he kind of urged me to step up for this role, given that we pretty much had kind of been on our own throughout this process of, the sewage sludge fight, we'll say. Right. We really had no help from our county representatives, so I kind of felt the need that, we need to have an active, on the ground representative, and also looked at the flooding, the devastation in Cameron and in Canisteo that past August. This past week again, more flooding, and it's affected parts of Thurston as well. Yeah. So I think it's we need someone that's really involved and active at the county level as well.
And you mentioned the flooding, and this is obviously because it's been happening so much lately that this has started the conversation on that as well. As legislator, what would you like to see done in regards to the flooding?
Oh, I think the first thing is we need our creeks, streams, our culverts, our ditches, they need to be cleaned, and that's like
a no-brainer, right?
I mean, come on. I mean, it's like the primary thing that we need, and we need assistance.
Yeah, we really do, and there's a lot of bureaucracy involved. I understand that. I know towns, I've heard a lot of people complain about, different reasons why they can't. But I know Congressman Langworthy said it when he visited after the last big round of flooding, that enough about the mussel or whatever, some little organism that they can't, we've got to clean this up because it's costing taxpayers a fortune.
Right. It is.
And since you brought up one major issue, flooding, the second major issue, and I know I mentioned this last time you were on the program, but I do think you deserve kudos, you and the board, for that resolution supporting the sheriff, because that is arguably the biggest story when it comes to legislature, what we've dealt with anyway on this program. Your thoughts on the kind of the sheriff versus the county?
Oh, I guess the big thing, I'm in total, support of the sheriff. The town board is too. I think this is in my opinion, like a non-issue. We have many other issues at the county level that we need to be addressing. And again, the sheriff is a duly elected individual. If the voters have issue with him, they can vote him out. There's
They clearly didn't.
They clearly didn't. He won re-election with 78% of the vote. So for me, that kind of ends this discussion.
And the fact that they're still like hinting at appeal, which I still can't figure out. We talked with the sheriff last week or 2 weeks ago. We still can't figure out what the appeal really is appealing, because there was no monetary, only the taxpayers spending on the lawyer fees. So it's all very confusing. And like you said, there's so much going on in Steuben County that doesn't seem to be where the focus should be.
Right.
Easy as that.
Yeah.
So you took out petitions. You've been knocking on doors. You're a hard campaigner. You're known for that. What have the voters been saying to you?
So as it relates to
in general,
and just general, I think as I've been talking to voters in Thurston, certainly roads, right? Roads are the big thing, and that's always. And now with the flooding, this past week, the roads, and that's, we as a town board, we are working on putting together a 5-year capital project plan as it relates to our roads, as it relates to equipment, repairs and replacements, and we just we need to communicating to the residents. Your road will get attention, and we are limited in our funding too, given that the governor clearly does not prioritize small towns like Thurston. CHIPS funding continues to stay stagnant. It's becoming harder and harder to purchase diesel engines, combustion engines. She has her push towards everything electric. So we're trying, and we at least we're putting a plan. We have a plan in place.
Michael's our guest. I wanted to ask. That was my old radio school days of saying your name to Kim. I was looking for my next question. How was Crazy Days?
Well, it was crazy.
It was crazy.
Right. So we were
truth in advertising.
Right. So we had originally planned, to be there for 2 days, Friday and Saturday. Friday, rained out, so we weren't really able to participate in anything that day. But Saturday, great weather. We were able to connect with a lot of the residents of Canastillo, as well as participate in their Crazy Day parade, which was great.
What we talked about this last time you were on the program, but it is kind of a short time frame. It's weird, right? With the primary, it seems like you just handed in petitions, right? And now here it is. Early voting's begun. Tuesday is primary day. Have you been able to pack in everything you've wanted to in this short amount of time?
I think I have. I would have liked, to speak to a few more residents. I will go out again, this weekend, talk to some more. That's why I've, been trying to use Facebook to communicate. We sent out mailers last week. I've tried to make my number, my contact readily available to anyone. If I haven't got you, feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to, stop by and talk or whatever.
Well, I'm excited for it because that's, if you're successful, then you have all those months to wait to the general election, right? It's just it's got to be frustrating. But you did have a couple meet the candidate events, right? Other than just Crazy Days.
We did Crazy Days, and then we also did an event at the Cameron Mills Market at the end of May. That was met with a lot of Cameron as well as Thurston residents that day. Again, wasn't great weather, cold, rainy, but still we had a good turnout.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So before we go, where can people find out more and find out how to help your campaign?
So we have a Vote Volino Facebook page. Friend us on there, and then we have our email, votevolino@gmail.com.
If you have any questions?
If you have any questions, reach out. Yep.
And you had signs, right? I think I saw a picture online. You're out taking out signs.
We do have signs. You send me a text, send an email if you'd like a sign. We're happy to give you one.
All right. So before people either early vote or they
Right.
go in on the 24th, what would you say to those voters?
I would say, look at what I've done the past 2 years in Thurston. I have really worked very hard to address residents' concerns, to communicate with them. I'm doing this, for the benefit of the community, to better Thurston, to better District 9. I have no, ulterior motives, no private interests in this. It's really, I want to, I care about this community and this area, and I want to see, it continue to become better.
Well, we'll be watching your race closely. Best of luck on Tuesday, and we hope to have you on again soon.
Okay, thanks
for
Frank.
doing this
I
twice.
appreciate it.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
All right, we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
Want to know why it's hard to stop a train? It's how we've invented products that reinvented our world. It's how we test as hard as the elements do. It's how we run.
Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning in Corning is now offering residential plumbing services. A local, veteran-owned and operated company with over 25 years experience. You can trust the experts at Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning.
Scamming seniors is a huge problem today. Worldwide, seniors lost $4.8 billion to scammers in 2024. The Steuben County Office for the Aging is here to help. Come to our seminar, Recognizing and Avoiding Financial Scams and Identifying Elder Abuse, Monday, June 18th at the Centenary United Methodist Church in Bath from 1:30 to 4 p.m. Learn how to identify scams, how to protect yourself, and fraud watch tips. Come to Centenary United Methodist Church in Bath, New York from 1:30 to 4 p.m. on June 18th. Learn more. Go to steubencountyny.gov/235.
I have severe plaque psoriasis, but thanks to Skyrizi and clearer skin, I'm all in. With Skyrizi, I saw dramatically clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free.
Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
With Skyrizi, nothing on my skin means everything. Ask your dermatologist about Skyrizi today. Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
If you are one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you to Michael Molino for being our guest this morning, running for Steuben County Legislature. That is in the Cameron, Canisteo, Thurston District, and also running for re-election to Thurston Town Supervisor. Right now, it's time for the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program, where we read viewer comments. Steuben Senior Services, empowering seniors to age a home. This viewer it's Ken. Ken writes in, it's true that if we get Hochul's record out, it would be a no-brainer. The voters would not vote her back in. The problem is, how do you get these sheeple in the major cities who blindly vote Democrat to pay attention to the issues and vote Republican? That's the biggest problem. That's why, Ken, we've wanted the Republican, whoever it is going to be, to declare earlier, because Lee Zeldin did do a good job. Now, yes, he did ultimately end up losing, but he did do a good job getting his name out there because he campaigned for over a year and a half. And at least Stefanik has name recognition, but when it comes to media coverage, I've seen that happen locally, where the Republican gubernatorial candidate will come and receive essentially no attention from the press or from the media. They'll hold a press conference where no one attends. So you're exactly right, but continuing with Ken's comment, the other problem is that with a closer election last time, Hochul's off-script performances being so poor and a stronger candidate like Stefanik, the Dems would be fools to not change her. Well, yeah. Could you imagine that debate, by the way? I would think maybe Hochul doesn't debate because she would be so out of her league, which we saw at the congressional hearing when Stefanik went after Hochul. All right, comment from a different viewer. Elon Musk is providing Starlink to the Iranian people like he did for Ukraine, following them or allowing them to access information and to get information out. I'm sure the military is using this information. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. I'll be voting no once again, and I would love to see an even greater turnout than last time. That, of course, in reference to the Corning Painting Post school budget vote that is today. If you were in the Corning Painting Post school district, get out and vote. I would love to see a huge turnout. Last time, the budget was turned down by 60% of the voters, and it was a good amount of voters, too. So I appreciate your comment. Get out and vote. Don't forget. Comment from a different viewer. Elon and Trump are freeing the world through technology and a strong military stance. Peace through strength is back. Thank you very much. Yeah, we got a lot of comments. Next comment. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. I know that it's still early in the week, but doesn't it seem like the Trump-hating media is unusually quiet? I know that they don't have the ambition to be digging tunnels, so maybe they're coming to think that Trump really is making America great again. I would say that's maybe some wishful thinking, but I appreciate your comment very much. Comment from a different viewer. This is in reference to our interview with Michael Valino, saying, yes, in all caps, all of the streams, culverts, and some rivers need to be cleaned of debris, branches, logs, etc. in Steuben County. And after Monday's rain, it was unbelievable the amount of logs that ended up in Cuca Lake. Sending some photos. I am unable to post those. It's a little difficult to post them live on the air, but I appreciate the photos. Yes, some major devastation, so I appreciate it. And here's a nice one. This comment. I just want to thank the Steuben Senior Services Fund for sponsoring Frankly Speaking along with Hesselson's. Yes, of course, along with Hesselson's and Boss Security and our friends at Culligan. We have the best sponsors, so I appreciate that, and we're glad to have Steuben Senior Services Fund on the program. They're bringing us viewer comments, and then with our interview, it was Steuben County Office for the Aging who brings us the interview. So all of our great sponsors, and thank you. I appreciate when viewers appreciate those that put this program on the air. So thank you for that comment from that viewer. Okay, just quickly, I guess Andrew Cuomo's getting some flack because he has now become the great disappearing act in New York's mayoral race. That, according to Kristen Fleming, where the heck is the guy? Doesn't feel like he's running for mayor, but away from New York. With early voting now underway ahead of the June 24th Democrat primary, New York's embattled former governor has barely shown his face, except for 2 debates and a photo op at the Puerto Rican Day Parade on June 8th. He's held no real rallies, had no big presence interacting with voters, and he's been ducking the media like a fugitive avoiding the law. Cuomo's built a moat around himself. I think that's the arrogance and the cockiness. It's actually, some have started to say it's helped that Zoran Mamdani make a little bit of a comeback, that he's in a little bit of closer striking distance. Now, he is a Democrat socialist, very far left. As a matter of fact, this piece says that he brings the Bernie Sanders method to New York, but could he upset and defeat Governor Cuomo now with Governor Cuomo, former Governor Cuomo, of course, which sounds so much nicer to say, as he's done this disappearing act, not showing his face, because again, it goes back to the arrogance that he just thinks it's his to have. His entitlement is how Kristen Fleming's put it. It is frankly off-putting and all too familiar. He's disappeared in a cloud of his own arrogance. He seems so convinced that despite all of his political scandals, he's got the Democrat nomination in the bag and doesn't need to lift a finger for it. So again, the arrogance of Cuomo taking a victory for granted, and it feels like he's taking New Yorkers for granted too. Also, he's been hit, this again, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, hit with an ethics complaint for failing to disclose his more than $2.6 million worth of stock options, those stock options in an advanced nuclear technology company. He did not disclose those before his run for mayor, the conservative watchdog group Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trust is demanding that the city's Conflict of Interest Board investigate Cuomo to determine, quote, if he intentionally violated New York City's disclosure laws and enforce any appropriate penalties. One of the most basic and fundamental ethics laws applicable to candidates and elected officials require them to publicly disclose their financial interests, said FACT Executive Director Kendra Arnold. Unfortunately, it is this essential law that appears to have been violated by mayoral candidate Andrew Cuomo when he failed to fully disclose his financial interest in a company named Nano Nuclear Energy. Cuomo's team amended his disclosure forms to detail the stock options on the same day. A May 2nd Politico report shed light on the previously undisclosed holdings into that nuclear program. So there you go. Just a couple of updates on Cuomo. So today is the Corning Pennant Post school budget vote. Your thoughts? I would say an informal poll here on Frankly Speaking. Seems that you are active to go out voting and also active in voting no. Seems to be the common thread, but if you have a different opinion, I would love to hear from you. Again, they are asking, Corning Pennant Post originally asking for $147 million. It is now $144 million. Now, the vote is today. It is between noon and... No, that can't be right. Nope. I was looking at the wrong time. I have the times here somewhere, but I believe it begins here in just a little bit time-wise where you could get out and vote. So make sure that you vote today. That is for the Corning Pennant Post area school district budget, again, of $144 million. Your thoughts on that? When we come back, we're going to talk about the big, beautiful bill. We've got a couple Trump updates in general. I see a lot of comments coming in. All that and much more. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
William Mattar has been a great brother, but I was surprised to learn how many people knew he was my brother.
William Mattar's on this?
Oh, brother.
Because when Big Insurance finds out that he's on a car crash case.
So who's on this?
They hired William Mattar.
Oh, brother.
Word travels fast.
You know, they got Mattar on this. Mattar?
Oh, brother.
Hurt in a car? Call my brother, William Mattar. 444-4444.
Distracting is dangerous, but some people just can't seem to help themselves. There's the steering wheel propper, the sneak-a-peeker, the fast scroller, the nightlighter. And it's not long until they become the fender benderer, the got-a-ticketer, the veering off the road, the driver who kills someone. Enough with the phones already. Just put them down.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Lease a brand new 2025 Chevy Equinox 1LT all-wheel drive with GM loyalty or conquest bonus for only $359 a month for 36 months. Make car buying simple. Drive your deal at Simmons.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Today is the Corning Pennant Post school budget vote. So make sure you get out and vote, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Let's go to viewer comments. Viewer comments brought to you by Steuben Senior Services Fund. And again, we thank the viewer who thanked Steuben Senior Services Fund in the last segment for being a sponsor, empowering seniors to age at home. Here we go. First up, Trump left Canada to deal with Iran. The rest stayed behind to plan Greta's flotilla to Iran, probably. That went so poorly for a trip to Gaza, and the optics look so bad. And, of course, the pollutants used for that round trip. I don't know if she'll be doing a flotilla anytime soon. Who knows? She might like that attention. We also know that that group was forced to watch the horrific acts on October 7th as a sort of punishment, which I think was a great decision. Comment from a different viewer. I wish I knew what candidate in the town of Corning and Canton would address the road conditions. I nearly lost a filling while traveling on Buckwheat Hollow Road recently. The holes are massive, deep, and numerous. I realize weather plays a role, but maybe it's time to use crushed shale. It's durable and long-lasting. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Frank, your frankly speaking stickers appear to be the size of business cards. If you carry a wallet, you should carry around maybe a few with you and hand them out to your fans when we see you around town. Well, when you do stop, I took your advice during the break, and it fits in my well-aged business card holder. So along with my business card, I have a couple stickers in there. That's a wonderful idea. Thank you for that. And finally, Mark writes in, voting no to Corning Penny Post school budget. Frank, you have a great day. Well, you have a great day, Mark. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yesterday is the budget vote, so get out and vote. Last time, a great turnout. We'll see if that can hold. Now, the Senate committee has made revisions to Trump's big, beautiful bill. The new version will include making more cuts to Medicaid and lowering the child tax credit. Axios reported yesterday that the changes the committee made would only increase the child tax credit to $2,200, a decrease from the $2,500 in the version that the House of Representatives have voted on. The committee is also proposing deeper cuts to Medicaid spending by lowering the provider tax. That's according, again, to Axios. The Senate version also softens the phase-out of solar energy tax credits that were part of the Inflation Reduction Act by allowing more projects to access the credits before they end. The committee also had a state and local tax SALT cap of $10,000, which is lower than the $40,000 limit that the House landed on. That is going to cause some issue with New York State representatives who wanted to see that $40,000 limit. I know there's already been some pushback from the SALT conference. Now, remember, the House of Representatives passed Trump's big, beautiful bill in a vote of 215 to 214 and one abstaining. In a press release from U.S. Senate Committee on Finance, Senator Mike Crapo explained that the bill prevents an over $4 trillion tax hike. This bill prevents an over $4 trillion tax hike and makes the successful 2017 Trump tax cuts permanent, enabling families and businesses to save and plan for the future. He added it delivers additional tax relief to middle-class families still recovering from record inflation under the Biden administration. It powers the economy by permanently extending critical pro-growth provisions and introduces new incentives for domestic investment, providing certainty for American job creators to spur domestic economic activity and invest in their workers. Now, Trump has said he wants the big, beautiful bill on his desk by July 4th, so that clock is ticking down very, very quickly. We got to take our last break and then wrapping up today's edition of Frankly Speaking on the Corning Penny Post School Budget Vote Day edition of Frankly Speaking, a little wordy. Get your last second comments in and we'll read them before we wrap up today's edition. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Hi, this is Tissel, owner of Hesselsen's in Amara Heights. At Hesselsen's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselsen's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is a start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselsen's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
Since 1983, Nissan has been assembling award-winning vehicles for you, right here in America. And we're committed to keeping our lineup affordable and free from new tariffs. That's why we've lowered MSRP on our best-selling Rogue and Pathfinder. So you can get the car you want, at the price you want, knowing Nissan is here for you at the Nissan Summer Sales Event.
Now get 0% APR financing for 60 months on Rogue or Pathfinder, or get a low $239 per month lease on Rogue.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio here on Market Street in Corning. And let's go and wrap up today's edition with comments during the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program. Steuben Senior Services Fund, empowering seniors to age at home. First up, frankly, the Corning School District wants $40 million more than the Horseheads School District. Let that sink in for the Corning taxpayers. That's a great way of putting it. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning. It's June 17th. Frank, maybe if you put out there where some of the people could go to vote, we would have more people out there voting, especially the seniors who aren't notified or don't have computers or whatever. But maybe it could just add that to your program today. More people would get out and vote. Okay? We'll do that. The polling locations. Corning Paint and Post High School, the administrative building over on 165 Charles Street in Paint and Post, the Corning Town Hall in South Corning, that's 20 South Maple Street, and then Irwin Valley School. So in the past, if you voted at any of those locations, that's most likely where you'll be voting again, especially if you voted on the first budget. You will either be at Corning Paint and Post High School, administrative building, Corning Town Hall, or the Irwin Valley School. So thank you for that comment. A comment from a different viewer, excuse me. Did budget for the school get cut down at all from last time? Well, a little bit. So not a lot cut out of it. A lot was helped by Corning Incorporated, who donated $1.8 million towards the budget. So last vote, it was $147 million, basically is what they were asking for, $147 million. Now they are asking for $144 million. And as that first viewer put, let that sink in for the Corning taxpayers, $40 million more than the Horseheads School District. So again, Corning Paint Post High School, you can vote, administration building, Corning Town Hall, or Irwin Valley School. Final comment, thanks to all the sponsors. Yes, isn't that nice? Thank you to all of our great sponsors here on Frankly Speaking. It is hard to believe we are out of time for this morning's edition of Frankly Speaking. I do want to mention this because this is happening in California, but get ready because we in New York like to take some of the more crazy, maybe that's a biased word, ideas from California and make them our own laws. California State Senator Scott Weiner has proposed a ban on law enforcement officers wearing masks when making arrests, likening them to some form of a secret police. Quote, we're announcing new legislation, the No Secret Police Act, to ban local, state, federal law enforcement, with some exceptions, from covering their face when interacting with the public and require them to wear identifying info. Secret police behavior tanks trust and must end. We're seeing the rise of secret police masked, no identifying info, even wearing army fatigues, grabbing and disappearing people. It's antithetical to democracy and harms communities. The No Secret Police Act can help end the fear and chaos this behavior creates in communities. Now, this, of course, coming off the heels of no real mask ban for the protesters that are causing all the disruption and destruction. But we are out of time for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you for all the comments. Another very comment-filled day. We appreciate it. We also want to say thank you to Michael Valino for being on the program. He's candidate for Steuben County Legislature in District 9, which is Cameron, Canasteel, and Thurston. He's also running for re-election to Thurston Town Supervisor. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll be back tomorrow morning bright and early starting at 6 a.m. I look forward to it already.